Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Two Vegans Hanging Out. My name is Anastasia, and I'm the owner of VegShe. Today, I have a special guest. He's an entrepreneur and animal rights advocate. Christos is here with us today. He's coming to us all the way from Malta. Christos is the regional coordinator at Our Planet There's Two, and he is the owner of Fit Vegan Dad. Christos, thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Happy to do it. So can you tell us a little bit about how long you've been vegan and what inspired that journey for you?
Okay, so I went vegan in July 2018, so it's a bit, it's almost 5 years now. What inspired me was ethical reasons. I originally went vegetarian for about 9 months. That was in November 2017, I think. So it's been more than 5 years that I haven't eaten meat. I think the original spark was Mr. Moby. I followed him on Instagram, and I'm a big fan of his music. And he's very vocal about animal rights on his social media platforms. So, you know, I got influenced by his messaging, and I think that was the, let's say, spark. I had seen on the internet and on certain TV shows some scenes from Earthlings here and there, so subconsciously I knew what was going on. And when I was thinking about veganism and the idea of not eating meat, I wasn't opposed to it. Actually, I remember having a conversation saying that vegans are right about animals, but we have other bigger issues to address. In my mind, how I justified it before was that we should first treat we should treat each other better before we address the issue of how we treat animals. But now I realize that I think it's the other way around. In order for humans to treat each other better and to remove violent behaviors from us, from how we interact with each other, we should start with how we treat other species. So long story short, yeah, that was vegan for the animals, ethical reasons. After I went vegetarian in 2017, I started watching the documentaries, Earthlings, What the Health, Cowspiracy, and I transitioned to veganism over the course of 7-8 months. But I was pretty much determined that I will go vegan after watching those documentaries. The reason why I didn't do it overnight, which I would tell myself back then, just don't think about it and do it overnight. It was more of a social aspect, because I didn't know anybody vegan at the time, and all of my social surroundings and my friends and my family and my ex-spouse non-vegan. So it was hard for me to do the transition overnight, but eventually I did it. So I'm happy about it. Never looked back.
That's great. Yeah, and I think we had a similar journey in that I started out as vegetarian as well. And it took, I had like one vegan friend at the time, and he pointed out to me that I was still contributing to the animal agriculture industry, and the animals were still dying, and I didn't realize it until he explained it to me. And he encouraged me to watch Earthlings, and that's when I think it clicked for me. And I immediately was like, oh, we've got to stop what we're doing. We have to change this. I really like that your perspective changed from, focusing on humans being kind to each other first, and then you changed it to focusing on being compassionate towards animals first. I think that makes sense. I think, if we lead with compassion in all things that we do, we naturally are just going to be compassionate towards everyone and
Yeah.
everything. Um, and I think starting with animals might actually be harder. I think being compassionate to other people, that's not something I've ever had a hard time with, but extending that compassion to animals, I think, is more challenging.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about some of the challenges you encountered when you first went vegan. Did you want to tell us a little bit about, the importance of community building for you early on?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, First of all, let me just add a remark about what we said about treating animals first, and that will have
Mhm.
a knock-over effect. What solidified that point of view for me was the book World Peace Diet by Will Tuttle, and he talks about how world peace can be achieved by starting with animals first. So if anybody hasn't read that book, I would highly recommend it. Now, in terms of the community aspect and what was a struggle for me, it was purely a feeling of loneliness,
Mm.
combined, like I felt like I didn't have anybody that understood me in my social surroundings, and they also questioned my decision, like, why are you doing this? What happened?
Right.
And they all had anticipated that I would go back to eating meat and animals at some point. Um, at the beginning, when I got into veganism, it also created the first year of me being vegan. It also created some feelings of anxiety and
Mm.
little bit of misanthropy, I would
Right.
say, because you want to tell people about this realization and they don't want to listen, and that creates frustration most of the time. So yeah, I think that feeling of being isolated is the most challenging. So for me, what worked was that I started doing animal rights activism about in the 1 year mark after I was vegan,
Mhm.
and then there I connected with some brilliant vegan activists who are here in Malta, and I made very good friends that we are friends up until this day. So yeah, community is important. So if anybody who's feeling alone or disconnected because of their choice to be vegan, a good way to connect with like-minded individuals and also to do your part for the animals, I think, is doing animal rights activism. Um, and also connecting with other people online is a good thing to do. But nothing, in my opinion, beats real life interaction. A good resources that I would recommend for anybody feeling that kind of mental pressure from their choice of being vegan is the book Vistopia
Mm.
by Claire Mans, is a vegan psychologist based in Australia. And yeah, after reading that book, I kind of overcame those feelings of anxiety, frustration, loneliness that I was feeling in my early days as a vegan and vegetarian. So yeah, educating yourself, working on yourself, and connecting with like-minded individuals is a must if you're a vegan to cope in a non-vegan world, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that makes sense. And I found that to be true for myself. I had the one vegan friend, but the more, I don't know, the more time I spent researching and making a lifestyle change, the more I just kind of found other vegans. I'm not even sure exactly how it happened. I know part of what's been beneficial for me is the Vegan Women Summit, which happens once a year. I think this year will be the third year, I want to say. And that's a really wonderful community that just sort of sprung up at the right time. I had been vegan for a little while, but then they just kind of ended up on my Instagram or something. And
Mm,
I can't tell you how much my community has grown since connecting with them. Um, so it's made a huge difference, I think, for me as well to have community. I think that's important.
yeah, yeah.
So I know your reasons for going vegan. I know it's specifically for the animals, and it sounds like that's continued to be your reason, right? Mostly.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, primarily, I mean, I've experienced benefits in my health and my physical appearance, and I my physical appearance was the change in my appearance could be, you could say it's a transformation, but it's not. It wasn't. My veganism wasn't fueled by health. It was just an added benefit because around the same time I started exercising and doing calisthenics,
Hmm.
so it kind of clicked. So I experienced health benefits, and I would still advocate for the health benefits of a plant-based diet, but make it clear it's a plant-based diet that has to be properly planned, and
Right.
it's a separate thing than veganism as an ethical position against animal cruelty. So, yeah, still is animals are still my primary reason, which is why I do animal rights activism. I've been lucky enough to have a role with Our Planet Earth 2 for a couple of years now. For the first part of the year, from January, preparing for the National Animal Rights Day event, which happens in June. It's the second year that I'm doing this role. After the National Animal Rights Day, usually things become more quiet, and I have other occupations. I used to work in private aviation. But yeah, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to work for animal rights, even for just you know part-time seasonally for stretches of time, which is a very nice experience. And I continue to do animal rights activism as much as I can, because I think it's important for vegans not only to make the connection and go vegan, but also stand up against the injustice which is being inflicted upon animals every day.
Right. Absolutely. So you really took the building a community approach to the next level by really making animal rights activism your job, which I think is really cool. Um,
Yeah.
I imagine that's helped you expand your community even further as well through your work with Our Planet There's too.
Yeah, definitely. I've had the opportunity to connect with many animal rights activists and vegans in the four corners of the world, like from Australia to Europe to the United States. So um,
That's
it,
awesome.
it's amazing. I hope to meet some of these individuals in real life, but mostly it's been online. But yeah, animal rights activism, I managed to make it my occupation for some stretches. I also have the fitness, the fitness side of things with Fit Vegan Dad, um, which was, let's say, a separate kind of project, more focused on health and fitness rather
Sure.
than the ethical approach. I'm reconsidering my content and my whole approach on that platform for now. Be I'm taking a little break from social media because it's the final run before this year's National Animal Rights Day, which happens in June. I think I will be back with different kind of content from
Interesting.
from June onwards.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to see what that's going to look like. And I think
Yeah,
before we met, I don't think I'd ever heard of National Animal Rights Day, even though I've
yeah,
been vegan for a long time. And I was looking
yeah.
into Our Planet There's too, and I realized that there is it an animal constitution of rights or something like that on the
Yeah,
website?
it's called the Declaration of Animal
Thank
Rights.
you. Yeah.
Mm. Uh, and it's a very nice concept. Basically, we declare the rights of animals, and we will continue to declare the rights every day on the National Animal Rights Day until their rights are established by law. And this declaration is now being translated into many different languages as the National Animal Rights Day expands as an event. And at the end of its ceremony of NARD, that's the abbreviation NARD, participants get to sign that declaration. So it's like, let's say, inspired from the Independence Day in the United States, right? Where
Hmm.
they declared human rights. So it's a similar thing. It's international now. But we continue to still call it National Animal Rights Day because it's a national day for each country individually. So
Right.
even though it's international,
Right.
yeah, it's a nice project, and I'm proud that I'm part of it.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. When I was researching the organization, I found the declaration and I had the chance to sign it online. So it looks like you're trying to reach a certain number of signatures, and then I think the goal is to send it out to representatives in government all over.
Yeah. That's the long-term goal. At some point, that will happen. For now, the goal is to get as many countries and cities to jump on this event that happens once a year. And yeah, eventually that's the goal. And as you mentioned, there's Declaration of Animal Rights, I think .org is the website where you can go and sign digitally if you're interested to do that.
That's awesome. I think people should. I did. As soon as I found it,
Yeah,
I read it and it really resonated with me. So I signed it right
yeah,
away. And I think
yeah.
I might have shared it on social, but I think I'm going to repost it again, especially on National Animal Rights Day, because it
On the
makes sense.
Yeah, I would think it would make sense to include it how- in the description of the video on YouTube.
Yes,
When,
yes.
when we do
So
post.
for this video too, anything we talk about, I'll link in the description below. Thank you. So that people can
No.
find it. And then of course, I'll be sure to repost it as well. So talking about veganism, we can't really talk about it without talking
Mhm.
about food. So do you have a favorite
Yeah.
recipe you want to share?
I would say my meal plans are not a very. I don't have a big variety because I have two boys and they're a bit when they're with me they eat vegan and they're a bit selective, let's say, with what they eat. So I would say my standard breakfast is either overnight oats or cooked oats, and to those oats I add some textured vegetable protein (TVP) to increase the protein content. So yeah, my favorite go-to breakfast would be that overnight oats with soy milk. And then on those overnight oats, I usually don't add anything extra. It's just the oats, the TVP, and soy milk. And then on the next day, I add the toppings, which is definitely blueberries. I eat blueberries every day. Then some kind of nuts, usually walnuts,
Hmm.
um, ground flax seeds,
Yes,
some
ground.
dates, and then I will usually add another fruit, either a sliced banana or some strawberries when it's their season, and half a tablespoon of cinnamon for a little bit of spice. So yeah, that's one thing I do repeatedly, and it works well for me.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So you put the TVP on your oatmeal?
I combine it in a jar. So I combine 50 grams of oats, 50 grams of TVP, 300 milligrams ml of soy milk
Uh-huh.
together.
Interesting.
Um, sometimes I would add a dash of maple syrup to make it a bit sweet
Hmm.
in the jar, and then I put it in the fridge and to overnight. The texture is not as when it comes out, it's not as overnight oats. It's a little bit different than when it's combined with the TVP, but it gets some getting used to, and I think it's a great way to boost your protein intake from one meal. I
Yeah.
usually I usually accompany that meal with some citrus fruit like clementine in the morning, and a small protein shake on the side. So from one meal, my first meal, I get around 90 grams of protein every day from that
Wow.
one meal.
That's a lot. That's
Yeah,
good though. I mean, it makes sense with your goals. But it kind of
yeah.
speaks to the predicament people think vegans have about not being able to get enough protein, but I've actually never had that
Mm.
problem. So,
No, it's not. I don't think it's a nutrient of concern for vegans if you're eating
no.
enough calories. The reason why I'm trying to boost my protein is because I'm exercising and trying to build muscle.
Sure.
or now I'm cutting and I'm trying to maintain my muscles. So I'm aiming for about 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight,
Okay.
and that's the higher level of the range. I mean, you don't have to go so high. So
Sure.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, I've never thought of putting TVP in my oatmeal, but I could try it. I have it. I tend to eat my oatmeal and then I'll eat like, we have like vegan deli slices. They're sort of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, lunch meat. I don't know what it's called. And sometimes I'll eat my oatmeal first and then I'll eat like a few slices of that on the side if I'm really paying attention to my protein, but gotten kind of lazy lately, but I got to get back into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Those are usually made from seitan, right? So if they're from seitan, they would be high in protein. Those
Yes.
deli mock meats. Yeah.
Definitely. And they're good. So like I'll get one that's like a ham slice, I think is what it is, and that makes sense in the morning with oatmeal. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, it's definitely easy to get it just in your breakfast, your protein, so I do the ground
Yeah.
flax
Yeah.
like you do, which is so important because people try to have whole flax and that doesn't do anything. So make sure your
Yeah.
flax is ground. But that sounds
Yeah.
really good. Sounds like a wholesome breakfast.
Another one that I don't do quite very often, but I do when I want to have a savory breakfast is tofu scramble.
Mm-hmm.
uh, with some sliced multi-seed bread and some avocado and tomatoes. Like if I want to have something savory instead of sweet,
Sweet.
because the overnight oats tend to be on the sweet side.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have that feeling too. Some mornings I don't want sweet, so I'll do like a
Yeah.
scramble. Yeah, it sounds like we have the
Yeah.
same breakfast. Um, so if someone was to visit Malta, do you have a vegan restaurant recommendation?
Yeah, well, there are actually two vegan restaurants on the island. One of them is called Balance Bowl.
Mhm.
It's located in Gzira. The other one is called, I think, Josephine's or something like that. It's inside the Corinthia Palace Hotel,
Oh,
and they're not they're not advertising that they're vegan. But their menu is exclusively plant-based.
oh,
And there's another place called Alive, but it's not in Malta. It's on the island of Gozo. Gozo is the second island that Malta has two main islands, Malta and Gozo.
mhm.
So if you want to go to Gozo, there's this place called Alive that has also. I'm not sure if they're exclusively vegan, but their menu is predominantly plant-based. But if you have the app Happy Cow um, or a Billion, there it's pretty updated, so you will be able to find also restaurants with plant-based options, vegan options, apart from those that I mentioned. It's become much easier over the past 4 years so that I'm here and vegan to find places with vegan options.
That's
It's not
great.
it's not that uncommon. If you come here and you're vegan, and if you go to a place that they don't have something vegan on the menu, most of the time, if you ask for vegan to veganize a thing, they will accommodate you. But definitely use Happy Cow.
Yeah, definitely. I like Happy Cow. It's a good option. I think we were talking before, and you said that for your boys, they prefer to go to Burger King for the Whopper. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mentioned that the boys are a bit selective with their food, and I've tried to take them to the vegan restaurants or have them trying plant-based options in places that are not Burger King. But the Burger King here in Malta has introduced a plant-based Whopper and plant-based nuggets. So
Nice.
um, if you have the Whopper without mayo, it's vegan. Now, the downside to that, and it depends how strict you are with your choices, is that they tend to grill and fry the nuggets and the patty on the same surfaces that they
Mm-hmm.
cook the non-vegan ones.
Sure.
In theory, you're not supporting paying for animals to be abused. You're paying, voting for a plant-based option. So in my book, that is vegan.
Yeah.
I know vegan. I know I've heard the debates of vegans saying that the vegan options of McDonald's and Burger King are not really vegan, but for me, it's what you pay. It's about what you're paying for, what you're supporting, and not the purity of it. So for me, it works because I have the boys. So I go there just as an option when you want to eat something easy and fast when we're out and about. But it's not something I do very often, every now and again.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you and I are on the same page with that. When a like fast food place comes out with a vegan option, I usually go and try it because I want to support that. I also think that most of the people in at least my social media community, aren't vegan. And so they are looking for options that are going to be appealing to them and be convenient. And so I tend to support, the options, even if it's not at like a fully vegan location. But I do find that for myself, when I'm traveling or if I'm going out to eat, I personally prefer to eat at all vegan restaurants just because it's easier for me to order food. I don't have to think about it. I don't like having to, I can do the work, right? I can come up with a vegan option at a non-vegan restaurant, but I don't always like to have to think so much about it.
Yeah. And in LA, I guess there are plenty of purely vegan plant-based restaurants, so you have a choice of places to go. Here it's only two, so you have to sometimes make your do your homework. I've had occasions where by mistake I had like something that had dairy, or one time they added meat in a wrap.
Oh no.
Which thankfully on that one I realized before I had a bite, but on the dairy one, it was hidden within ingredients, falafels and spices and stuff, and I didn't realize after I had it was yogurt, so I thought it was plant-based yogurt. So, but my bowel recognized it,
Right.
because I hadn't had dairy for a while, so I felt it.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant, so I know.
Make sure to, if you're having a vegan option at a non-vegan place, just make sure to double check with them and make sure they understood you want the vegan stuff.
Yes, definitely. So I think you've touched on this a little bit, but do you have any advice for people who are considering going vegan?
In terms of health, on the health side of things, yep. Okay, so assuming they understand the ethics, okay, that's what I would recommend to somebody considering to go vegan, is just understand it's not a diet, it's an ethical position. And once they understand that, for the practical side of the health aspect, I would just say do the fundamental things consistently over a long period of time, and stay clear of extreme versions of the vegan diet, like juicing, fasting, water fasting, detoxing, and things like that, unless you have something serious that you're trying to find a solution for, that has been created from many years of not eating the right way. For me, the fundamentals are eating enough calories, having a variety of fruit, veggies, whole grains, nuts, seeds in your diet. I would say for anybody who hasn't read the book How Not to Die, to read that book and get the app, the Daily Dozen, and try to stick to the Daily Dozen by 70-80%. If you do that, you should be okay with long-term health. And drink enough water, sleep, exercise, have social connections in your life, take care of, dedicate some time to yourself, and you should be fine. If you don't do those things consistently over a period of time, your health should improve. And if you're exercising and you're trying to build some muscle, just pay attention a little bit to your protein intake. That's it.
Yeah, that's good advice. And if they need more advice, they can always find you, right? Fit Vegan Dad, and ask you, since you specialize in this.
Yeah.
So
I'll be happy to help.
I know you would be, and I'm sure that people would love to reach out to you. I've seen, a lot of your client testimonials and things like that, and you're doing really good work for them. So I know you're definitely a good resource if people are looking to get started on their wellness journey.
Thank you.
Of course. So before we go, is there anything else that you wanted to add? Maybe anything you wanted to share with our watchers?
Mm, no, not really. Just you know, just to reiterate that if somebody is watching this and they're not vegan and they're considering going vegan, just to understand the ethical side primarily.
Mhm.
Um, because when you're starting on a change in your life, sticking to that change has a lot to do with your mindset, right? So if you're ethically compelled to do something because you realize you have the responsibility of your choices, and you realize what kind of effect your choices have on other beings, you are less likely to go back on those. So I would say the primary motivator would be here compassion,
Mhm.
empathy, and we are all looking out for our own health, and people are concerned. So they are sometimes trying a vegan lifestyle to improve their health, but be aware that just going vegan is not going to turn you into Superman all overnight. You're
Right.
still susceptible to illnesses. You're still susceptible to your environment. You might go sick. You might even develop a disease. So uh, adopting a plant-based lifestyle will reduce your risk for developing most of the common diseases, but it's not going to bulletproof you against everything. So for me, the primary motivator to go vegan and stay vegan is the animals. So that's my closing statement, let's say.
Okay, well, I think it's a good one. I think it makes total sense. I think remembering why you started something and being able to commit to it is important. And like you said, it's a lifestyle, it's not a diet, so it's a lifelong commitment. So, treat it as such. I think that's good advice. So
Yeah.
for folks who want to find you online, either as Fit Vegan Dad, but also Our Planet There's too. I'm going to put everything in the description, but do you want to tell us where folks can find you?
Yeah, so for social media, for the time being, I'm most active on Instagram. So it's Fit Vegan Dad, sorry, Fit Vegan underscore Dad.
Okay.
Um, I'm checking and posting from time to time until the National Animal Rights Day, but not very consistently as I've been so far. I want to focus on making better content of better quality versus uh, quantity, because I've been focusing on posting quite often so far. So I
Mm.
want to switch that into posting more early, but creating better content. So it's Fit Vegan underscore Dad on Instagram. There you will find my link tree that has all of my social links. And for Our Planet There's Two, I would say either visit ourplanetthere's2.org or thenard.org to find us there. And there are all there you will find all of the social media links for everything. So yeah, if you are in a region that happens to be in my region of responsibility, and you contact us through those pages, if my region is in there, I will get in touch with you. I'm in charge of Australia, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe and the Balkans. So those are my, let's say, regions of responsibility for now.
Perfect. Very cool. Well, I'll be sure to include all that in the description so people can find you. Um, I want to thank everyone for joining us for this episode. I want to thank you, Christos, for being here. If you aren't already, you can find me on Instagram at veg_she, and all of my links are there where you can find the YouTube link for Two Vegans Hanging Out. I usually release an episode every month. That's the goal anyway. So follow me on YouTube if you're trying to keep up with these episodes. And thank you guys so much for joining us. And Christos, thank you for being here.
Thank you.